from the top of West Mountain in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Good morning, everybody. This is 94.3 FM The Talker. This is Sanity Check. I am Libertarian Lou. On the phone is Tea Party Mike Lacey. Our number here is 888-577-4487. That's 888-577-4487. If you want to join in on this lively conversation this morning. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. You know, here in Texas, Lou, we're about an hour behind. It's starry skies. It's still dark, but dang, it's only 45 degrees here. I'm freezing.
I know, you're killing me here. I'll tell you what, it was a little chilly here this morning. Not as bad as I anticipated. I got up early. I walked outside. It reminded me a little bit of Montana. Nice. The wind wasn't blowing. I think that was the main thing, Michael. But here's the thing. We got two questions right off the top here. And this is for the All-American In God We Trust poll. That is our poll, the All-American In God We Trust poll. How can you possibly not believe this poll? But the questions that we're going to get posted: is global warming a hoax, or is Fukushima the real threat that we're facing in America today? What do you think about that, Michael?
Well, you know, based on everything I'm seeing, you know, I look at that boat that was stuck over in the Arctic, which is supposedly summertime weather there, and there shouldn't be all that ice. And you know, I begin to think that maybe Al Gore didn't have it quite right, a little, because I haven't heard a thing from him.
Now, I actually wrote Al Gore down because we spoke yesterday, and I think you're going to take that initiative on, and you're going to try to get a hold of Al Gore. Maybe he wants to come on Sanity Check for some real questions.
I think Al Gore is probably, you know, when you have the temperature in your house up to 95 degrees, you begin to think that there's some global warming, Lou. But we don't have that privilege and that ability to afford such doing. So, you know, I think Al Gore needs to come out from the elite world and see what it's really like out in the real world, Lou.
Well, listen, talking about polls, I'm going to get your blood pressure up right off the start this morning, right from the beginning. You know, we know that polls are meant to deceive. We've talked about this numerous occasions, except, of course, the All-American In God We Trust poll, which soon you'll be able to find on Muckraker News and Independent Gazette, because that will be our polling company, as we say. But, you know, listening to all the polls or recent polls that came out, Christie 48%, Clinton 46%. Now, I wrote down 6 undecided. I don't know where they came up with, but I got to tell you, Michael, nothing changes until we have a free and independent press and certainly free and equal elections, which goes to the Presidential Debate Commission, which I want to talk a little bit about, and how these things are manipulated so that we're not getting the real news. But from Liberty and Prosperity in New Jersey, it's a New Jersey organization. They've been around for a long time. It's a Tea Party type group. I get this email, and the National Chamber of Commerce and the Republican Party leaders announced they are determined. They're determined to remove all conservatives and libertarians, including the entire Tea Party movement, Michael, from having any political respect and influence during the next 6 months. This is what you're facing, Mike. This is what we're facing. This is why we're doing what we're doing, because they're in high gear. All the big money is coming out, and they're going to do what they can to disrespect us, to marginalize us. We are now lumped with the Tea Party movement, libertarians, and what do you think about that?
Well, you know, this is just the thing that, and it seems that the Republican Party, and as you know, I've been very outspoken against so many of these things of the establishment, they just don't get it, Lou. Every time they turn on the heat onto the Tea Party and to the libertarian parties, we just seem to rise above it. Because, see, they don't understand the real love for freedom and liberty, Lou. They don't get it. And there's that burning desire in our hearts to continue to fight against and push against it, Lou. And I just think, you know, bring it on, guys. Bring it on, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the Republican Party that's going to take the hit. Because I look out there, Lou, and, you know, I work in a town where there's a lot of youth, and I'm looking around and saying, you know what? They're not buying the established nonsense anymore. They've realized that the liberal part of the Democratic Party is not going to represent them. They realize that the Republican Party is just in bed with the Democratic Party, and they're looking for an alternative. And they're naturally migrating to the Libertarian Party, Lou. And, you know, I find myself doing the same. Obviously, you have been there for years. That there's no difference. I see no difference, Lou, between the Democratic and Republican Party. They're all in it for their high established interest, and not for the interests of the American people, Lou. And I really think at the end of the day, the Republicans will very much regret this response in Jersey.
You know, just listen at and reading some of the information that we're getting about the NSA and all kinds of different information here. I was looking, Greenwald just came out talking that a lot of the information that he's had to come out and talk about with the NSA has come out with Russia Today. And of course, Russia Today was the television station that actually, produced the third-party debates. So I started looking a little bit more about this presidential debate commission, and I started thinking, is it too early to start talking about this? And I said, no. We have to start talking about who are the ones that pushed these debates. Who are the ones that keep people out of the debates? How come we don't hear about the Jill Steins or the Gary Johnsons or those other ones out that were not allowed to participate in the debates? And of course, it's the Presidential Debate Commission. By the way, folks, you're listening to 94.3 FM, The Talker. This is Sanity Check, Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike, and that number is 888-577-4487. Michael, first of all, like anything else that we hear, whether it's the Federal Reserve or No Child Left Behind Act or the Patriot Act or whatever else, moniker they want to put on things to try to deceive people, Presidential Debate Commission somehow thinks that it's a commission, that somehow this is, up and up. First of all, it's a 5013C corporation supposedly to provide the best possible information to the listeners and to the voters. And of course, we know, and we've certainly been on the front of this, it's anything but that. It's a privately held corporation, basically by the Republicans and Democrats. And I started doing some, just looking things up. The co-chairman, Frank Fahrenkopf, okay, he was the Republican chairman from 1983 to 1989. I got information on him, and some of this stuff is just really unbelievable. He's currently the president and CEO of the National Gaming Commission, so he's one of the co-chairmen. The other co-chairman, of course, is Michael D. McCurry, the former press secretary of Bill Clinton. So here we go. These are two of the co-chairmen that actually decide who gets to go on the TV, and of course we have the water carriers, the U.S. media decides that they're going to cover it, and of course they go right along with that. So those are the first two people that are actually involved and certainly pulling the strings. The executive director is Janet H. Brown, doing some more information. Michelle Malkin came out and tried to get some information out about her. Evidently, Obama's the Portrait of American Families. She wrote about that. She was she served in the office of management and budget. So when we start looking at some of these people that are actually on this debate commission, we really have to start questioning what the heck is going on here. I mean, I look at the sponsors, Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch. Okay, I think what we need to do, I think at the Independent Gazette and maybe on our store, which people could be able to find here, I think as early as today, muckrakernews.com or the independentgazette.com. You could go there, actually, WB Independent Gazette, and our store. Maybe we have to start getting some shirts up there with a Bud can or something like that with a big, we have to start putting pressure on not only on the sponsors of these things. I mean, we just want real information, Mike, and I don't think that is that difficult to be asking our media and what we really want, to see in our political system here.
Well, Lou, you're right, and you brought up a lot of good points. First of all, just the fact that we believe, or at least I believe, that there is no difference between the Democrats and Republicans. It's clearly set right with the two first names you mentioned, who are part of the board. Second of all, I look and say, yes, once again, the media is on board with it. But how long ago have we been saying, Lou, at least in my heart, I don't believe that we have a choice in the primary elections, that those choices are made. We all knew, at least I did the last time around, that Mitt Romney is going to be the guy. You had folks like Herman Cain, who was really high in the polls, and whether you liked him or not, he was really making an impact, and suddenly he was demonized. You had Ron Paul, who had some great ideas. They made him look out like a crazy man. So this is all the things that you see. So I really believe in the primaries, Lou. There's no difference, because these folks have already been picked. We don't have a choice, Lou. And for the simple fact of two things. One, again, you mentioned the media is really bought and paid for. And two, there's no free and equal elections. So these are things, but here's what I find positive about it, Lou. Just even with our group of folks, I'm looking at John, our IT guy for the Independent Gazette, and he's up all night doing his work. We've got X doing his work. We've got you doing yours. We've got John doing yours. And we've got Ingrid doing hers. And this is not just within our group. This is within groups all over the nation that have really identified that there's a major problem with our liberty going on here in our nation, from the NSA to all other types of things. So, Lou, I think we're really on the brink of making some huge, huge discoveries and differences in our nation, and that there's going to be a real pushback, particularly since we have the youth getting involved in identifying the fact that their futures are really going in the toilet if this is allowed to really prosper and continue to go down the way that we've been seeing as far as the election process, Lou.
Bingo, Michael. You're right on target here. Looking at some of these other board of directors, we have Howard Buffett, the son of Warren Buffett. He's one of the ones that decides who gets on the presidential debates. And, of course, if you're not in the debates, Gary Johnson said this all along, you know what? If you're not in the debates, you're not part of the process. You can start spending all the money you want, but you're demonized right off the bat. I mean, if you can't get on that stage, and we've seen it, we saw it back in 2008 with Ron Paul. They're doing everything to keep him off the stage. And then, of course, in 2012, when we had a Ron Paul and a Gary Johnson, perhaps people talking about the Federal Reserve, talking about things that really matter, of course, they try to do the best to keep those people off. We have Antonia Hernandez. She's another one. Of course, she was she's former president and general counsel for the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund. We have a guy named John Griffin. People they can't even figure out who he is. I'm looking at some of the information. I cannot figure out who John Griffin is. He's something of a ghost. I mean, there's a number of people that are on this debate commission that doesn't even have like wiki information up and stuff like that. I mean, so I don't think it's too early. I do not think it's too early to start talking about this, and I'm glad we brought this up. Michael, we have certainly Michael Harrison on our line here, and we have a couple of initiatives at the Independent Gazette that we're doing. One of them, actually, I just talked to John D. about. From here on out, Michael, one of the first things I want to do, or as we move forward, anytime we interview a politician, I don't care if it's big, small, local, state, federal, we're going to end our interview with who owns the Federal Reserve. That's what we want. Yeah. We want to know who owns. So anybody we talk to, whether it's UDCHAC, whether it's Courtright, I don't care who it is. We're going to end. Oh, by the way, we just want to know who owns the Federal Reserve. John D. just asked me, can he buy stock in the Federal Reserve? And the other thing that we got going on is an essay contest with the Campaign for Liberty and Independent Gazette. I guess there's prize money. I'm not even all the way up on that. So John D. has his microphone on, and I'd like to welcome Michael Harrison from the Campaign for Liberty. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are you?
Have we got you going yet enough or what? Federal Reserve, presidential debate commissions. What's going on with our essay contest here?
Well, what we decided to do at the Campaign for Liberty locally here in Northeast Pennsylvania is to try and stir the pot a little bit, but among the youth. You mentioned the youth a little bit ago, at least I think Mike did, and the young people are very passionate about ideas, as we saw in the two Ron Paul campaigns. And so our idea was, why don't we just throw out there to high school students in Northeast PA an opportunity for them to earn some cash, but to express themselves on the ideas of liberty and see what we're able to come up with. And so that's what we've devised here, is what we're calling our first Liberty Essay Contest. And it is for high school students, 9th through 12th grades in Northeast PA. And it's any county from Luzerne and any surrounding counties. So it's Carbon, Columbia, Lackawanna, Luzerne, Monroe, Pike, Schuylkill, Sullivan, Susquehanna, Wayne, and Wyoming counties. All of those counties, if you reside in those counties and you're a high school age student, you can participate. And you're correct, there's some prize money at stake here. There are prizes for first, second, and third place, $100, $50, and $25. And the winning essays will be published then in an upcoming edition of the Gazette following the awards being announced. And the deadline for entry is March 31st, so that gives entrants almost 3 months from today's announcement to get some juices salivating and get some writing done. And then the winners will be announced in May. So then publication will be seen after that time. But the essay contest is the subject of the essay contest will be chosen by the entrant. We don't throw it out there and say, here's what you have to write on, but we do, in a broad sense, say, all right, let's have you write on one of the 5 pillars of our constitutional republic. And this comes from the writing of Dr. John Eidsmoe, who developed the Institute on the Constitution. And he, in his research of the founders, identified 5 principles that the founders all seem to agree upon in their deliberations and in their efforts in the struggle for liberty and as they gave our nation the founding documents that we have. And those 5 pillars are as follows: limited delegated powers, vertical division of powers, horizontal separation of powers, checks and balances, and reserved individual rights. So anyone that wants to enter this contest can pick from one of those 5 subjects. And for full details, what we do is ask people to go to the website for Campaign for Liberty, Northeast PA, and so that's located at NEPA, N-E-P-A, liberty.com. And there's a web page there. It gives the full details, all the rules, and there's also a contest entry form that entrants will need to complete and submit with their essay.
I got to say, what a great idea. I really do. I know you work with John DiLiberto on this, and I see the ad that they developed for the Independent Gazette, which will be coming out this week, and Win Cash and the Cause for Liberty, the Liberty Essay Contest. Michael, we'll get this all posted on our sites. We'll start pushing this out. We'll start pushing it out to the colleges and the high schools here. And what a great idea. And we really appreciate all the work that you have done with the Campaign for Liberty. Certainly, we've been at this for a long time, and we're starting to make a difference. So I appreciate you calling in today, and thanks for updating this. And we'll keep people updated as we move forward, and certainly it'll get posted on our sites, and it is on the Campaign for Liberty site. And in the ad itself shows where they could send their any questions, which is it looks like lccflinfo@gmail.com, or if I didn't get that right, Michael, maybe you could tell me. But otherwise, it's in the newspapers, and it'll definitely be on the websites, and we'll move from there. So thanks a lot for calling in today.
Okay, thanks, gentlemen.
Hey, thanks, Michael. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got X on the phone. And I believe he wants to talk about conspiracies that turned out to be true. No, that can't. We got John DiLiberto's attention here, Michael. We'll be back in a few.
The answer you're looking for lies right here.
Sanity Check with Tea Party Mike, Libertarian Lou. Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM The Talker.
Listen to the word I say. The screams all sound the same.
The screams all sound the same. And we're back. 94.3 FM The Talker. This is Sanity Check. Yes, that is Sanity Check. We're checking our sanity this morning. 888-577-4487. 888-577-4487. Good morning, X.
Good morning, gentlemen.
How we doing?
Pretty good. I figured we should talk a little bit about conspiracies that turned out to be true, because what it really does is it sets the stage for us to understand that most of these bigger conspiracies that are out there are actually not by a couple of individuals, but actually by our own government. And that's an important thing for us to understand, because remember, most Americans are constantly spoon-fed this idea that the government can be trusted. The government would never lie to you. The government is always acting in your best interest to protect you and your family. And what we really learn from most of these things is that the government is in the business of protecting the government and making sure that you never doubt the government more than anything else. So I just want to start with something that really just gets to the core of what we're talking about. And that is, let's just go back in time to when we were fed the lies about the weapons of mass destruction that supposedly Saddam Hussein had. Now, of course, we're over 10 years later from this entire process. We've discovered that there was nothing out there. There might have been some small amounts or something, but nothing in any way, shape, or form that would warrant the United States intervening in Iraq when, in fact, the real focus should have been in Afghanistan, where they probably could have caught Osama bin Laden within the first 6 months or so if they had done and gone there full force. Now, the scary part about this is, in order to perpetrate this lie and keep things going, they decided to use a number of different minor lies that I just want to call your attention to, because this is going to let you know the depths that they'll go. Now, everybody remembers the big rescue of Jessica Lynch, the girl from West Virginia, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl who heroically fought off the bad guys when her convoy was taken, and then the spectacular rescue, the secret mission where we went in and rescued her from the hospital. Well, guess what, people? It was all fake. There was no rescue, okay? Jessica was in a hospital. She doesn't remember that she didn't have some heroic fighting off the bad guys or whatever. She actually was basically picked up by the military in a very dramatic fashion to convince the public about what was going on. Her stance from her book was basically, I don't remember anything, which the reality probably is Jessica probably could tell you what really happened, but she doesn't want to, because if she did, she probably might get in trouble with some of the powers that be. Let's flash forward now. We had that football hero, Pat Tillman. Pat decides he is going to quit a multi-million-dollar contract with the NFL, and he is going to join the Army to be on the front lines to defend America. Now, of course, Pat Tillman is killed in a friendly fire incident, but we don't learn about that until much, much later, after the Army had said he was killed fighting the Taliban and wanted to award him a Silver Star. It took a long bit of time with the family itself having to figure out what really went wrong with their son.
Sure.
For us to learn about that lie. But remember, the military could not allow the American public to understand what was going on. And then finally, let's go back to the biggest one that stands out in my mind, and that is the supposed spontaneous eruption of freed Iraqis who decided that they were going to tear down Saddam Hussein's statue in
right.
the main square in Baghdad. Well, of course, a later report turns out that the entire operation was an Army PSYOPs staged event to basically rally the American public into having this thought that the Iraqis were so happy that we had come and invaded their country. Now, these are just like a few of some of the things that probably over time, if every person sits there and Googles conspiracy theories that turned out to be true, should at least leave you with one important conclusion, and that is the government will always do what's in the best interest of the government and never what's in the best interest of you and your family, like you've been led to believe.
Talking mostly about Iraq right now, but if I did understand the report, I think just yesterday that Fallujah just now has been taken over by Al-Qaeda. And these are things that we talked about all the way back. I ran for Office X in 2006, and I remember a televised debate with Bill Pascrell at the time over in New Jersey, and I was adamantly against going into Iraq. And of course, he was beating his chest and saying, "Yes, we have to go in." And they were all rallied around, along with Clinton and everybody else that wanted to go into Iraq. And this is what, quite honestly, a lot of libertarians have said for a long time, or real conservatives. I mean, identify these people or use the identifiers any way we want. But the fact of the matter is, I have certainly believed that it's better to trade with people, and certainly we have been warned about this, to stay out of these entangling alliances, and it's all coming true. It all seems like it's unwinding in Iraq right now.
Well, and in conjunction with this thought, we have to remember that it's interesting how when we had something like the NSA spying scandal on our phones, we had James Clapper stand in front of Congress and lie to them and lie to the American public that the government is not, collecting data on every single American, and this is the key word, without a warrant. Now, the thing that's funny about it, and also incredibly sad, is the fact that these people will lie directly to your face, and no one holds them accountable, which lets us know that we are living in a form of tyranny, not maybe like the sinister movies that you might watch, a la, Star Wars with the Emperor operating behind the scenes, but the idea that these people are operating in a form of immunity whereby their lies do not get punished. Whereas if you were working at a 7-Eleven and you lied to your boss, you could probably be pretty sure that then within an instant he is going to fire you, depending on the degree of your lie. So the George Tenets of the world that told George Bush, according to the documents, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, it's a slam dunk, nothing happens to him. They give him a medal from the government and send him on his way as if he's some sort of a hero, when in fact he is a perpetrator of a crime for giving this bad information.
Certainly, when we talk about heroes, and Snowden's been coming up more and more, people have been saying, is he a traitor or a hero? And my question is, do you owe your allegiance to the government, or do you owe your allegiance to the Constitution when these politicians raise their hand and say they're going to defend and protect is it the Constitution, or do they say they're going to defend and protect the government? And I think these are serious questions that we need to look at, and certainly need to look at what's really going on. X, you brought up a number of different points here, but once again, it's the water carriers, it's the media, and we are so glad that more and more people are starting to come out and say, wait a minute, perhaps the media is in bed. We certainly talked last week about being in bed with the CIA and certainly the NSA and a lot of these editors, and whether it's the AP. So we really need to start questioning exactly, how we're getting information, how they're getting fed, and is the media really reporting on the real news? Certainly if we were a reporter in perhaps Iraq, and we saw the statue of Saddam Hussein coming on, maybe, if you had real reporters, if you had real journalists, perhaps maybe they would have asked the real questions.
Well, and there's an interesting thing, when we had the Bahrain uprisings, we know for a fact that CNN squashed the story about this going on. But how about this, folks? Within the last 20 days, it was released that two congressmen have been trying to get this information that was redacted out of the official 9/11 report, whereby the 29 pages were completely blacked out, that pointed to the fact that the government of Saudi Arabia had sponsored the terrorist group that was responsible for 9/11. Now, the congressman in question, this has been going on. They are calling now for a complete list of this information so that the American public can know. But let's always remember, what was it, 48 hours later, when maybe you might have been stranded in an airport somewhere, they gathered up all of the Saudi family, princes and princesses living in the United States, obviously not living under their Sharia-type laws because they probably weren't wearing their burqas, and the women probably drove cars, and the men probably drank and probably went to strip clubs, and all of the other things that Western society provided them with. They were all safely within like 48 to 72 hours put on a private plane and flown back to Saudi Arabia before the American public was able to question them as to what their involvement would be. There was actually in the report that has at least some of the information that has leaked out is that some of the one of the ambassadors, I believe in California, had actually abandoned his home a few weeks before, leaving the house as if they left in a very big hurry with a car in a driveway and very expensive furniture throughout the house. So this idea that somehow these 19 hijackers operated alone without any real financial support in it, and the support that he got only came from the Osama bin Laden types of the world, is fictitious.
Petrodollars, petrodollars, petrodollars. Follow the petrodollars. We have talked about that. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, hang on for a little bit. Michael, we got all kinds of subjects today. I don't know how we're going to fit them all in, but we'll do our best. We'll be back in a moment.
Tea Party Mike, Libertarian Lou. Their Sanity Check. Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM, The Talker.
As we roll down this unfamiliar road, and although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not alone, 'cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
And this is your home, 94.3 FM, The Talker. This is Sanity Check, 888-577-4487, a Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike. We got Mr. X on the phone. This week, Michael, the newspaper comes out, be hitting the streets, the Independent Gazette. One of the articles is going to be grow your own groceries. It's an ongoing article that we're doing with from a lady down in Bastrop, Texas, by the way. But if you can't grow your own groceries, we do ask people to support those that support the Independent Gazette and muckrakernews.com. Raise Shore Save. Certainly, we ask people to visit those companies and businesses that support us. Williams Pie is something else. If you can't grow your own groceries, if you don't want to, or don't have the time to make your own Piyuggies, perhaps you want to stop right down there and drink a street in Dunmore. So, Michael, let me ask you. Last week we had put two things down as maybe the number one and two important issues of last year: the Federal Reserve and Obamacare. Certainly, I like our initiative that we're going to move ahead here and ask anybody we interview who owns the Federal Reserve. That's for sure. And then, of course, Obamacare. I mean, the more we keep hearing about this stuff, it is really amazing. Some other information that I just got this week, and certainly about the Medicaid and the advancement of Medicaid through the Obamacare. It looked like Washington State, if you can't afford the new high price, you are forced into Medicaid because of the individual mandate, you must be covered. So the feds have created a situation where if you lose the coverage, you could afford, allow the state to come in after you die and seize all your assets. That was kind of scary. I was looking at that and I'm saying, my goodness, now you're being forced into a program that you can't afford. And I can say that I have went on and I've looked at some of the programs, and some of them it is really just unaffordable. But then, of course, you're forced onto Medicaid, and we're all for paying your bills and doing what you need to do what you need to do. But if you're forced into programs, Michael, that are more expensive, and if your health care is more expensive than either you're willing to pay or what you should be paying, and then they attach your state. Once again, welcome to modern-day slavery in America with Obamacare. What do you got to say, Michael?
You know what, Lou? There's lots of things. There's a push right now. It was already written into the bill, which a lot of folks don't realize, is that if this caused insurance companies to fail, then there's a provision in the health care bill for a bailout, once again, for the government to the big insurance companies. And here's an opportunity for the Republicans to stand up and really be true conservatives and say, no, we're not going to allow that provision. But they won't, Lou. They won't. They'll stand back. The establishment will stand back and just let it go through again. And this is really what I think the American public, the hard-working American public, is really getting tired of, Lou. And I see with this health care bill and in my field, the provisions that are set in place for big pharma to continue to succeed. And I look at the media, just here in Texas, for example, which supposedly is the hardest hit flu epidemic in the nation, and how the flu shot, people are running for the flu shots. It's all out of fear. The media has committed a atmosphere or has developed an atmosphere of fear within the people. People come in and say, well, when did you get your flu shot? Never had one, probably never will. And they look at me like, oh my gosh. I said, we have been dealing with the flu for our entire existence as human beings, and yet we've managed to get past that. I had a young little baby, 5-6 months old. The doc missed it. The baby's doing great. And there are those instances where certainly it's important, Lou, but when you have a media who's in bed with the big government, who's in bed with big business, you never know, as X says, is where does the truth lie? And in this case, where I say a huge expanding health care, we're going to continue to see big pharma thrive at the backs of the American public.
X, before you jump in on that, just hold on for a minute. We want to take a phone call from Glenn in Hanover. What's on your mind this morning, Glenn? Good morning.
Oh, great. Thanks. I'm trying to keep my comment in my brain. You're so interesting. I am a registered member of the Tea Party since November 2010, just to give you my background. We do have to keep things in perspective when talking about the Iraq War. I mean, the whole world was saying he had weapons of mass destruction. The British intelligence, Israeli intelligence, and if our government was really all that insidious, because we do have to keep it in perspective and have some hope. If they were really all that insidious, we have to remember President Bush did come out and say, okay, we did not find weapons of mass destruction. He could have easily said and fabricated, oh yeah, we found all of this poison that would have gotten into our water and killed millions. So he did tell the truth and admit it. There was no weapons of mass destruction. I want to get on to really important points. I really want to make this one point. They're raising our taxes in Luzerne County, in Wilkes-Barre, and the state government and the federal government. They're raising our taxes, and I want to appear in meetings and make the point. Every time they raise our taxes, they are lowering my income. And what I want to see is when they raise our taxes, I want to see government people take cuts, because they are still getting their guaranteed increases year after year, while we are taking guaranteed decreases with increased taxes.
Glenn, you're bringing up another good point. Certainly in Luzerne County, 8%. We look at the property tax increases here in Scranton, 56%. I mean, taxes are skyrocketing, and you're absolutely right. What's happening?
Wilkes-Barre went up almost by 50% in fees and property taxes recently. Last year or two.
And one of the things that we're certainly writing about here in the Independent Gazette, they're talking about downsizing the state legislature here to save money. And my point, exactly what you're saying is that these federal employees, these people that are elected, need to start taking cuts. I mean, big time cuts, and get a little bit more in line with what individuals like yourself have to deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely. The gas prices are going up, and they think nothing of it. The fees on the turnpikes are going up, and they think nothing of it. I mean, we are taking hits on all sides, and we got to see these government people, take decreases, because they're not working in the mines 12 hours. They go to nice office jobs. They have their coffee. They sit behind desks with all of their authority and in their ties and nice dresses, and think, well, how can we serve the public now? No, we're serving them. They have to start serving us by taking cuts the way we are taking cuts with increased taxes.
And one of my pet peeves is these solicitors, these judicial appointees. I mean, it's out of control. It really is.
Yes.
And we appreciate your call. I need to let you go on this one. But X, you were starting to talk. We have so much stuff going on today. Where are you at with that?
Well, I was just going to comment, let's think about recently how the government reversed its ban on cell phones, which has been a scam for years. I've always known that that's a lie, that somehow using your cell phone or your electronic device would have crashed the planes out of the sky. They were doing that for other reasons, basically. They just didn't want people using their electronic devices and diverting their attention. The other thing that was in conjunction with what, Mike's specialty is, Mike, is the flu shot a complete scam?
Actually, there is some protection against, but in a sense, and you and I have discussed that, it is a crapshoot that, there's a group of individuals who decide what flu or flu viruses will be most prevalent in the following year. And it's not always it's not a specific science where we know it's always going to get it right. So the flu shot itself has some potential to be helpful, but the way it's being promoted that everyone has to have this product, that's where the lie is, Lou, X. Because I believe, and I've thought this for many, many years, is that God has created us with a body to fight disease. But part of that process is to be exposed to it so that we can develop those antibodies, natural antibodies against the flu, and strengthen our bodies in the process. And all we're doing now is just artificially giving that to ourselves. And when I look at the hysteria that the media has caused here in Texas, and you've seen it throughout the nation also, to really just continue to promote this flu shot. And here's an example. We were always told that get the flu shot somewhere around October, November. After that, it's really not even advisable to do it. Now all of a sudden they're telling you, here it is January, February, keep getting your flu shot, keep getting your flu shot, keep getting your flu shot. Well, sure they want you to get your flu shot because the ones that are in existence expire in the next 3 months. So let's keep pushing it so that we don't have any more inventory. I believe that there is some legitimate use for it for those who have specific illnesses, whose immune systems are compromised, who might be, for whatever reason there is. But for the normal, healthy individual, I myself, I do not use it. I don't think it's necessary. I got the flu last year. I'm here talking to you, I believe my body has developed, for example, when the swine flu came out, folks in my age group, the 50s, the 60s, we were immune to it. It was the youth that were becoming sick to it because we developed those immunities. So let's let nature probably process some of this on its own rather than having this huge, the Sanity companies of the world making billions of dollars off the insurance company, the premiums that we have. So I do believe there is a component of a hoax here, that we don't necessarily need this huge mass inoculation of the American public for the flu.
Guys, before we finish that conversation, I just want to take another phone call. Ben is on line 2. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, guys. Again, I've told you this before. I wish you guys were on for 4 hours every Saturday morning. I have to put up with a 3-hour pregame to a little football game, which means nothing really to anybody. But when you have important information being put out there, it's just not, an hour's not enough. But my point is this. You folks were talking about misinformation and bad information. What about information that is good that is not reacted to? And my point right now is this. Of all of the countries in the world that you can be afraid of, right now I am scared to death of North Korea. Did you guys read this report on what he had done to his uncle who did not agree with him?
Yeah, he whacked him.
Yeah, I mean, the idea
well,
is that they fed him to the dogs.
And threw him into a cage and had rabid dogs eat him alive. How in the world can the United Nations and all of these human rights organizations sit back and just allow this stuff to happen, and you don't hear one word about this? This guy has nuclear capabilities.
Yeah, it's scary. And Ben, thanks for calling because we're running out of time. And please call anytime.
Thank you, Ben.
The thing is once again, guys, is it's not just the misinformation. It's information that is put out there through omission. And we've talked about this all the time too, is that a lot of the media, a lot of our local media, they're moving the dialogue through omission. They don't report everything. On that note, we got to take another break. When we come back, we're going to wind up finishing up here, guys. You're listening to Sanity Check. We'll be back in 2.
The answer you're looking for lies right here.
Sanity Check with Tea Party Mike, Libertarian Lou, Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM The Talker.
Can you hear us now? I hope they're starting to hear us now. 94.3 FM, The Talk, a Sanity Check, Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike. We got X on the line. Before we start, guys, I want to just do a little shout-out to the Patriot Connectors. This Thursday, we'll see you up there with the new newspaper. Weather permitting, of course. We're going to stop up there. But, and I know a number of you are listening right now over there in Pike and Wayne counties. We have a couple hot investigations. So if anybody wants to do some hard investigative reporting, you want to change your community locally, this is what we do. And this is a shout out to those individuals out there that in Pike and Wayne, we've been tipped off on some of the happenings in your local community. And perhaps you want to dig into it with us. And certainly we'll get that reported on the Independent Gazette. And coming up soon really is the Muckraker News Blast that we'll be putting out, hopefully on a daily basis, but certainly a couple times each week. We want to take Gary from Mill City on line 2. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
We're moving this morning. We're moving on all kinds of things. How you doing?
A couple phone calls ago, a gentleman was talking about the taxes, and Lisa Baker was on a radio show probably 2 weeks ago talking about a bill that she had co-sponsored that was going to raise the sales tax and the state income tax a little bit and do away with property tax. And as a property owner for the last 30 years, I've been hearing about property tax relief for the last 30 years. And these politicians run on this. They get in office and they sponsor bills that never see the light of day in committee because the committee chairmen won't let them up for a vote. Won't even let it into committee. And if these politicians are really serious about the bills they're sponsoring, I believe it would be to their interest and to the public's interest to come out and tell us who the roadblocks are and name names, because these people are the ones that are holding back any kind of progress, any kind of change. The people that have been embedded in power for years, and that's why nothing's changing. And we get these new members that come in and want to change things, and they just become part of a broken system because they won't name the names of the people that are actually doing the harm.
Well,
Gary, I have a question for Lisa Baker. What happened to the billions of dollars of gambling money that was supposed to reduce our property tax? That would be my first question for Lisa Baker.
And then another bill I talked to them about, I talked to the 3 local senators' offices, was the bill you guys are pushing for...
free and equal elections, SB 195.
The ballot access bill. And there's another one. These people say that they're going to jump on this bill, they're going to push it. Well, if my memory is correct, you guys have been pushing this for like a year and a half. How long does it take to get changed? These people have no convictions, or they would come out and tell us who are stopping these bills that are actually good, that are actually going to change things and help people's lives.
Gary, bingo on that also. We just went down last month and we visited every state senator's office in Harrisburg, and we're going to be reporting names. This Thursday, we're going to find ourselves down in Lancaster at 8:30 in the morning. We're going to Senator Smucker's office, and he is the chairman. He is the chairman that is holding up this bill, and we're going to ask him point blank, why is he not pushing this out? We're not going to take the 2-step. We're not going to do the 3-card Monty as we talk about, and we're not going to have this political speak. We're going to ask what he plans on doing with this, and you will see it front page on our newspaper next month. That much I promise you, and that's what we can do. And certainly what you're saying, Gary, is absolutely true. Same thing like we're talking about, I don't know if you heard earlier, asking specific questions about the Federal Reserve to these public officials. The media has to start asking those same questions that you're asking right now. We've had enough. We're at the end of our rope, guys, and that has to end. And Gary, thanks for calling. You had some important points right there. Michael X, I mean, I don't know where to go with this. I mean, obviously, Gary's right on. We have to start asking these tough questions, and the media has to start asking these tough questions and stop being afraid that, guess what, if you tick some of these elites off that they're not going to come on your show or they're not going to be giving you the interviews, to heck with them. We're going to write about them anyway, and we'll make stuff up what we think they might say. And I think that's important because they serve us. And I think Gary and everybody else that's calling feels the exact same way. Michael, why don't you take it?
Well, you're absolutely right, X, and I am tired of, I see it here in Texas also. We're not, insulated from that. And I really hear the voice of the people, that they have had it. And you hit the nail on the head just a few seconds ago. They are, and we must remember it, they are there to serve us. We're not there to serve them, and they've got it backwards. We just have to keep pushing the information out and getting the people involved, Lou. Hey,
listen, our time's running out, but I want to take another call. Lou from Greeley. Good morning, Lou.
Yeah, Lou. Hey, I got a real quick correction for you. You said this Thursday is the Patriot Connectors meeting. It's not. It's next Thursday.
Ooh, okay. Well, thank you on that point. Okay, because we would have trudged
Thursday
up there.
Is the meeting for the Pike County Republican Committee,
okay,
which is open to the public. It's at the Blooming Crow Firehouse at 7 p.m., and it is open to the public.
Okay, good. I for some reason, I thought it was the second Thursday of each month. I spoke
It is the second.
It is.
The second Thursday. This is the first Thursday.
This is the... this next Thursday's coming up the first Thursday. Okay, either way.
Yeah.
No. John DiLiberto's shaking his head either. This is the second Thursday. Yeah. But either way, we'll double-check that, and certainly if anybody wants to... What's that now?
My gosh. Yeah, that's right. First was Wednesday. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Well, no, hey Lou, if that's the worst thing that happens today, we're all in good shape. Let me tell you here. So we will see it, weather permitting. It looks like we got another front coming in here from who knows where. And I told Vonnie that we're going to bring the newspapers up. And I'm not sure if I think you were just checking on looking at a movie this week. So if we have an opportunity, Vonnie said we'll be able to speak up there again. And certainly we have a couple.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, and we got a couple investigative issues that we want people up in your area, certainly the Patriot Connectors, that might want to dig their teeth into, because we know you're looking to change things on the local level. So, Lou, thanks for calling, and we'll see you Thursday. Like I said, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
There you
go. Michael, Jason, X, it's unbelievable. I wanted to talk about the MSNBC again, this last thing with Melissa Harris Perry again, with this whole Romney picture. I mean, these people are freaking nasty. Let me tell you, Alex Wagner, I remember talking, she did an interview with Ron Paul. I think they have to take a nasty interviewer. I think that's, before they get hired on there, they have to have a certain level of nastiness to get hired on to be on MSNBC. We got the Rand Paul shoes Obama administration. We're down to 1 minute and 28 seconds. X, why don't you finish up, and then we'll let Mike finish up as always.
Just everyone Google conspiracy theories that turned out to be true, and then be prepared to have your head explode, because the government is the worst perpetrator of lies to manipulate the public.
Good point, X, and certainly you have your article in the Independent Gazette under Jason Schurer, and you write for a number of places now, including Breitbart. So we're glad that you're part of our inner circle here, and have a great weekend, Michael. We're getting down to it. We're down to 50 seconds. I know that the time flew by today, and it was so many. I still have all kinds of notes in front of me. I have no idea, but I think we touched on the main things. Once again, the paper comes out this month. We ask people to support those that support us. It's hugely important. Pick up a copy of our paper and go to those. Go to those places that are helping us out, and let them know that you found them in the Independent Gazette. Michael, you got it.
Hey, God bless everybody in America.
God bless.